Hi everyone, this is Carrie Plath from Teach Abroad at CIEE. I'm joined here today with four panelists who you'll meet in a little bit. Three of our panelists I think are ready at the moment, and one we're still working on some technical issues, but hopefully they'll all be able to join us. They are in Thailand currently, so I'd like to thank them in advance for staying up super late to take the call, and for everyone who joined us today, thanks for taking the time to join us. I want this to be as interactive as possible, so if you have any questions at any time throughout the webinar, please write them in the questions bar. Panelists, if you ever want to speak, you know that you can unmute yourself. And it looks like one of our panelists might be writing in, so I'll be announcing what she has to say. But definitely, we're all here to answer your questions, and this is for you guys. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and get started. Again, if you have questions, write them at any time in the questions bar, and I'll be answering them, as well as our panelists will be answering them as we move throughout. For the panelists, when we do get questions, I'll read them out loud so that you can address them since you can't see them. All right, so what are we going to do today? First, we're going to hear from current participants. As I said, we have 4 participants. And before we get to them, we'll talk a little bit about why you might want to teach abroad with CIE, an overview of our 2 Teach in Thailand programs, and we'll introduce the panelists and hear about their experiences on various topics. And throughout, you get to ask them your questions as well. So hopefully you'll find this useful and informative, and I am recording it so you can listen to it later as well. So why would you want to teach abroad with CIE? So the CIE difference, you're going to be getting assistance finding the best program for you. So hopefully, since you're here for Thailand, you're interested in Thailand, but we do offer a bunch of other jobs or a bunch of other countries if you're interested. We also provide guidance through the application process and job placement in Thailand prior to departure. This means that you're going to be having your placement before you would pay the full program fee, having your placement so that you can get a proper visa for your specific school. And we do help you with the visa with our 2 programs that we'll talk about. The only difference between them is the level of visa assistance you have. And then there is the work permit that you will get once you're in Thailand, and your Thai school helps you with that. So there's online pre-departure preparation course that you can participate in with your colleagues to help getting started learn about being in Thailand, living in Thailand, and maybe learning a little bit of Thai. CIE, we also provide transportation from the airport to orientation and from orientation to your Thai school. Plus, you do have a multi-day orientation when you arrive. If you arrive in our smaller departures, which are in June and August, it's normally about a 3-day orientation. If you arrive in our larger orientations in May or October, it's normally around a 6-day orientation. So that's a great time when you get to meet the other program participants and do some fun activities. So I'll let our panelists talk a bit about that later. You also will have accommodation included with your placement, so you're going to get a competitive salary plus rent-free accommodation, so that's always going to be provided. For United States citizens, we're able to offer INEX travel insurance. And if you're not from the United States, then you get a little discount because you'll purchase insurance elsewhere. And you also will have support from our partners in Thailand, OAG, for 24/7 emergency assistance. And your family members, and you will also have support from CIE 24/7. And finally, we do have a big alumni network, so when you return to the States and are looking for a different job, if you return to the States or wherever you're from, then you will have a membership in that network of over 300,000 people. So that's just a very general summary of reasons why you might want to consider CIE. So now we'll talk about our programs. We do have what we call the standard, which on our website is Teach in Thailand, and our plus program, which is Teach in Thailand Plus. So this is a little new arrangement of our program. Some of our panelists might be new news to them, but we've changed it a little bit from what we had before, and we're able to offer some different salary levels and different departures. So there's lots of options and something for everyone. So when you're going abroad and you're choosing a program, you're going to choose either spring or fall. If you choose spring, you're typically going to be going in May. If you're graduating in May or are teaching through May or have a different big obligation in May, then you might leave in June. For the fall, the vast majority of people are going to be leaving in October. But if you are a hard science, a math, or an education teacher committing to 2 semesters, there's an August option available for you. So someone has asked, can you pick which of the departures you want to go to? Yes, you definitely can choose if you want to go in spring or fall. As for if you qualify for the August or June, that's something that we can discuss individually, but most people will be going in May and October. You also could be teaching students ranging from kindergarten to university, so there's a wide range of students. I will say that university jobs are sparse, but they do exist. You also choose between 1 and 2 semesters. A 1-semester program is 5 months, and a 2-semester is typically an 11-month commitment. Everyone's commitment varies from school to school, as similar to in the United States or other countries, the exact start and end dates of the school depends on the school. So normally for 1 semester, it'd be about a 5-month commitment, and 2 semesters would be 11 months. The Thai school year starts in May and goes until March, and I'll let our panelists talk a little bit more about that later on. A lot of them started in October and are staying for 2 semesters, so they can tell you a little bit about a break they have coming up. Also, in Thailand, you're going to be earning between 28,000 to 33,000. Oops, that's one extra zero that I meant to put there. 28,000 to 33,000 Thai baht per month, plus provided accommodation. The base salary is 28,000 Thai baht per month. If you are TOEFL certified, teach other subjects, or have a degree in hard science or math and are teaching those subjects, your salary would be 30,000 Thai baht per month. And if you have an education degree, your salary is 33,000 Thai baht per month. Anyone who's a 2-semester teacher will be getting a 20,000 Thai baht bonus. So again, that's a lot of details, and all of that's on our website, but I want us to make sure that we get to our panelists. And so if you have questions, we can definitely consult them in our panel or right now as well. All right, and it looks like we have our 4th panelist here. We're going to quick test her microphone. All right, she's already self-muted, so never mind. She is ready. All right. So what to expect? We kind of went over this, but these are some photos that we have. This is Jessica, one of our participants. I believe she was there in 2017, and then this is at one of our orientations. We had a talent show of sorts in the evening. So that was us singing karaoke, which is a pretty popular thing to do in Thailand. So again, you can pick between spring or fall, whatever works best for you. Luckily, the Thai visa is pretty quick, so even if you graduate in May, you could go abroad as soon as June. You can pick between 1 or 2 semesters. Again, we have the standard or plus program. To discuss those programs a little more, the standard program, as I said, is our Teach in Thailand program, and the plus program is called Teach in Thailand Plus. The only difference is on the plus program, it's $150 more, and the reason for that is that you're going to have extra visa assistance. On the standard Teach in Thailand program, we're going to provide you some assistance, but you'll apply directly for your visa through the embassy in your home country. The Plus program is only available for U.S. citizens because we use a visa processing company called Trivisa, and they are located in Washington, D.C., and if you choose to go on the Plus program, CIE is going to cover the cost of the processing company, your visa at the Thai embassy, and also returning your visa to you. Whereas on the standard program, you wouldn't be using the processing company unless you chose to, and you'd be paying the embassy directly and paying for getting that visa returned to you. So that's the only difference in the 2 programs. And if you're curious, the visa in Thailand, if you go directly through the embassy, is $80 US. Moving on, the TOEFL certification is a 150-hour certification course you can add to your application. If you do add it and complete it within a week of teaching in Thailand, you will earn a higher salary of 30,000 Thai baht per month. I definitely think it's a useful certification. I took it myself and have my degree in Spanish education and still took the certification and found it to be helpful. It's valid for life, recognized worldwide. So we can ask our panelists later if any of them are certified and hear about their experiences, but it's definitely something to consider. Certainly not required, but recommended. Also, as I mentioned, accommodations going to be included, and we'll let our panelists speak more in detail about that, but you will either be living in a studio apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, or a shared house with other CIE teachers, and that's going to be provided by your school, but you'll be paying for utilities on your own typically, and that's normally around $20 US per month. depending on your usage. We already covered salary a little bit and the completion bonus for 2 semesters of 20,000 Thai baht. So quick question about the PLUS program. So on the PLUS program, is your visa insurance included? So insurance for U.S. citizens is always going to be included regardless of which program you choose. And on the PLUS program, yes, the visa fees are going to be covered for the processing company, for your actual visa, and for returning it to you. So if you have your education degree and take the TOEFL program, what's your highest rate of pay? It's 33,000 Thai baht per month. And if you share a house, do you share a bedroom? No, no one is expected to share a bedroom. You would share the common living areas. All right, and so there's one more question that I'll answer, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the next slide. So is there an average date when October participants leave? So our departure dates are very similar from year to year, but they're always dependent on the Thai school. And as we'll hear a little bit later, Thai time's a little bit closer maybe to the deadline, we'll say, than we might be used to in Canada or the United States. And so we don't get to finalize our actual departure dates until a couple months prior to the program, and that's because the Thai schools are still finalizing when they want teachers to arrive. So if you depart in May, it's going to be early May, oftentimes between May 5th or May 15th. June, similar, between June 5th or 15th. August is also between probably August 5th or 15th, and October is normally between the 15th and the 31st of October. So that kind of gives you a timeline. It's early May, early June, early August, and mid to late October. All right, good questions so far, everyone. So the job, these are some of our teachers and their students. I think taking a selfie with your students is pretty popular. You'll probably be doing that if you end up going. And you'll be, when you're teaching, you're typically going to be working as the lead teacher in your own classroom in public or private school in Thailand. Some people have co-teachers, but most people have the lead teachers. And you'll be working 20 to 25 classroom hours per week, but actually being at the school about 40 hours for preparation time and meetings and things like that. Oftentimes, you're teaching English as a foreign language, but there is definitely potential to teach other subjects. And we'll talk to our panelists about if they're teaching other subjects or if they're teaching specifically English. All right, so that's the nitty-gritty of the programs. Now for the exciting part, which is actually meeting our teachers who've joined us. And again, I want to thank them for joining us really late Thai time. And we'll go ahead and without further ado, let them introduce themselves. So Maggie, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Of course. Hi guys, my name is Meggie BORICH. I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and I came to Thailand with the October program, so I got here in late October. I originally was staying for 1 semester, but I just signed on for another 5 months, so I'll be here for a year now. And I'm teaching kindergarten 2 in right outside of Bangkok in Bang Bong. And I went to the University of Arizona, and I did have a degree in elementary education, which is helpful, but definitely not necessary, as you'll hear from other people in this program. So that's me.
Thank you, Maggie. I'm going to go to your photos, and maybe you can say a little bit about those.
Of course. So here you can see a little bit of me at my school, and then also traveling. There's lots of temples in Thailand, so a lot of my pictures are me at temples. And here's a picture of me with 2 of my cutest kiddos, and a picture with my director and my principal in traditional Thai attire, which hopefully you will have the chance to wear as well if you come to Thailand. And then just a couple things I wanted to share with you guys. So I decided to take a gap year to come here, and as I said, I have decided to stay, so I am loving my time over here. And I've always loved teaching, but teaching in another country is so fun and rewarding. And the kids here are the cutest things I've ever met. They're so cute, and they will make you love your job, I promise. And traveling around Thailand has been beautiful. I haven't even left yet. As you can read there, there are a lot of places to see. You can go to the beach, you can go to the mountains, you can stay in the city. You have it all right in this country, so it's a great place to teach and travel all in one. And the food is spicy, so get ready for that. It is very hot here, but the people here are amazing, and it'll make your stay very comfortable. As I said, the country is beautiful, so what else can you want? And that is it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So again, if anyone has questions, be sure to write them, even if it's for a person specifically. All right. Maggie, they have a question that's specific for you, which is, when you decided to extend, I can actually answer this, but when you decided to extend your contract for an additional 5 months, do you receive the bonus?
Do you want to answer, or?
You can answer individually. Every school is different, but normally, the answer is normally you will not receive that if you extend, but sometimes schools are available, but normally it's determined earlier for the budget. But is that what happened in your case?
Yeah, I'm not receiving the bonus just because I started in October and it's not the full academic year, but if I would have started in May and stayed those 2 semesters, then I would have gotten it. Just because I started in the second semester, I'm not getting it now. That makes sense.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. So, and I'm sorry, guys, but so something did change since Maggie and all of our panelists started, which is that the Thai schools are now able to offer the bonus if you commit to 2 semesters starting anytime, but you do have to commit to it initially. It's if you extend, that's wonderful. Your schools are normally happy to have you extend as long as it's in the budget and you're performing well. They want you to extend, but normally they have to decide their budget early in the year, and they can't offer that for people who choose to extend 99% of the time. All right, so thanks a lot. We'll be hearing from her again. And Jake, would you mind introducing yourself at this time?
Of course. My name is Jake RECKER. I'm from the beautiful Omaha, Nebraska. Come check it out sometime. I arrived last October, as well as Maggie, and I was signed on for 2 semesters at the get-go, so I'm in for the long haul, but no regrets so far, so that's great. I have a degree in medical anthropology, so as you can see, no previous teaching, and I'm not TEFL certified, so I just kind of jumped right in. And have been fine so far. So for those of you not thinking of doing it, it is possible. I'm living proof. Before coming, I graduated in 2017, and I spent the better half of the summer, all of the summer and better half of the fall, kind of like unsure of what I wanted to do with my life, working part-time jobs at restaurants and other places, until a friend sent me this program, and I decided to apply, and now here I am, and I'm loving it. And then I teach at a school in north central Thailand. It's a large public high school. The average size, it's probably the average size of a large school. I know there's one about an hour away that's like 5,000 kids, and there's probably even bigger around like Bangkok or something, but at least for my area, this is the second biggest in my province, which is Phetchabun, and yeah, it's pretty rural. There's a lot. We basically live in farmland, in and around a lot of rice paddies and sugarcane fields. So it's a bit different if you're coming from a bigger city to these more rural areas.
Thank you. And what temple is behind you in your photo?
That is the temple of the 5-headed Buddha. It is in Khao Khaw, which is a district about 2 hours north of my town. It's in the same province though of Phetchabun, and it's I'm in the mountains. Where I'm at is not quite as high as where this temple is, but if you go about 2 hours north, you're in some pretty cool nature and cool scenery. So, and,
All right.
I believe it or not, this temple is only 5 years old. I thought it, or at
Oh,
least
really?
the staff. I thought it was much older, but it's not.
All right. We've all learned something, unless someone knew that already. I learned it. All right. And you have some more pictures, Jake. Can you tell us about
Yeah, I
these?
got a few more. Yes. Let's see. The one with me and all the lovely ladies is my from my top Matthew 6 class, which is the equivalent of 12th grade. And then they're kind of ordered by academic abilities. So this is the 6/1, and they're I guess they are considered the sort of the best students in the school. And this was. Let's see. I just wrapped up my class with them because they will graduate in middle of March, but now they're doing tutoring for international and college exams. So this was on our last day. They were all very sad to see me go. Actually, some of them even teared up, and yes, you can make that impression on them.
Cool. Thanks, Jake. And then he has
Yeah.
some of his top tips coming up.
Slowly but surely.
Do you see them?
Oh yes, here they are.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Number one is just be open. Like it's everything's going to be new, especially in the beginning. So don't be afraid to just say yes. And even if something you're a little unsure of, or like plans might be a little shaky, you're kind of like, what are we doing? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And it's just kind of like, oh, I don't know, but it's going to be great. So you should come along. And it's like, okay, sure. Like I'd love to. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a great experience. And actually 10 out of 10. I don't think I've really had any times where I've said yes to something and then regretted doing it later on. So even if you're tired, even if you're sick, like with at least a small illness, put yourself out there because you're gonna be really experiencing some cool things. And then if you are placed in a more rural area, life is very slow. There's like really nothing to do on the weekends here, except if you want to get to know the people. And like that's what I've really taken the time to do instead. Like it's not like Bangkok where you could go and have a nightlife. You can go to different restaurants. Here there's 2 7-Elevens. There's like one sort of bar and basically just street food for all of our quote unquote restaurants. So we really are pretty immersed in like small town Thai culture, which is honestly great. And I am really quite pleased with where I've been placed, just because it's something entirely new and not even really what I expected when I got here, but has really exceeded all expectations. So it's been really good, and yeah, it's an enriching experience. You'll have your greatest moments and your hardest moments, but you'll still, I think, come out of it being like, wow, I did that, and I feel better for it. So that's about
Thanks, Jake.
that.
You mentioned there's only 2 7-Elevens, which from our perspective sounds like a lot. Can you explain what 7-Elevens are like in Thailand?
7-Eleven is like your lifeblood. You can do anything, and you can pay bills, you can get the mail, you can buy clothes, you can buy anything imaginable. At least in real material things is there, and it's just, especially from where I'm from in Omaha, there's not a single 7-Eleven. So coming from there to like a place where there's one, like if you're in Bangkok, there's 2 or 3 like every street, it seems like. but it's really kind of like a place that Thai people depend on a lot.
Cool. Thanks, Jake. And everyone who's been sending in questions, I promise we'll get to them all. I just want to have us introduce our other two panelists first. So thank you, Jake. Next
Absolutely.
up, hopefully, Jeanette, your microphone's working. If not, I can introduce you, but give it a go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yay! So one thing after another, my headphones are about to die. So if I cut out, hopefully I can come back in just through my phone.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, or just outside. I arrived in October 2018. I teach English and math, which I was very surprised to get, but it's been going really, really well so far. I teach grades 7 through 10. It's Mateom 1, 2, 3, and 4. So middle to high school. And I teach at the English program at Sobo Wo, which is a big public school in Saraburi. It's about an hour and a half north of Bangkok. I just graduated college, but I spent some time doing event management before I came over here. And I am not a certified teacher, but I am enjoying my time here. I'm starting to learn how to become a teacher, and I don't think that it set me back in any way by not being a teacher. So.
Cool, thanks. And we'll get to your photos, but since you have been having technical difficulties this morning, can you speak at all about kind of going the My Pen Rye attitude and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a huge attitude that I've had to learn how to adopt over here. So My Pen Rye means never mind, don't worry about it. You can say it when you run into someone and they're like, My Pen Rye, don't worry. Or you can say, no stress. There are 5 cockroaches in my kitchen. My Pen Rye, it's fine. But that can go with anything because the culture is very different here compared to Western culture. So I've had to learn how to kind of adapt, and you will too. So learn how to try new foods, how to just say yes, understand that things are a little bit different, and learning how to adapt to those differences is really important. But also just going outside of your comfort zone, saying, My Pen Rye, it's okay. I'll grow from this experience, even though it might be a little bit challenging at first.
Cool, thank you. And sorry to add these extra questions for you, but would you say that in general, it's pretty easy to connect to Wi-Fi and technology, or is it challenging at times, or do you feel it's available throughout Thailand?
In my personal opinion, it's very widely available. The Wi-Fi at my school and my house is awesome. There's Wi-Fi in cafes everywhere. In the vans that I take to Bangkok, there's Wi-Fi in the vans. It might be different for Jake, who said he's in rural Thailand, but Wi-Fi has been really easy for me. I also have a really, really cheap phone plan that has unlimited data. So, but
cool.
It's very inexpensive. Yeah.
All right, thanks. So yeah, so Wi-Fi is available, everyone. It can be spotty for people in some places, but and same in the United States or elsewhere, there can be troubles. But in general, it's pretty reliable. I'd say, at least in my experience, the worst Wi-Fi was at the Orientation Hotel. Would anyone else agree?
Yes.
All right. All right. Jake agrees, and he does say it's true. It's spotty where he is. All right. So since we've kind of interrupted Jeanette's intro, we'll move on to some of her photos.
No worries. All right. So lots of animals. This is me in Chiang Mai at an elephant sanctuary. To the left, that's me at a husky cafe, actually in Bangkok. Because I live so close to the city, I get to go into Bangkok a lot and just explore the city, which has a lot to offer. It's really cool. Down below, I went on a trip to Nan, which is my director's hometown, with 60 other Thai teachers. That was a my pen Rai moment. She said, "Do you want to come to my hometown? We're all gonna load up on buses and just head up there." I said, "Yeah, sure, absolutely." It was a really cool experience. Definitely had to adapt to some things, but it was awesome. And then that's me in traditional Thai clothing. Unfortunately, I did not get the skirts. I had to wear the pants. But it is really cool to experience if you have the chance to.
Cool, thank you. And then I think you had a couple
Mhm.
tips for people as well.
Yeah. Okay. The first one has to do with me not being a teacher. I was super anxious about it. I was worried that I wasn't going to help these kids and I wasn't going to give them the best that they can get. And then one of my coworkers said, "You'll always have knowledge and benefit to these kids. Remember, you went through years of education and they're still in middle school, and your teachers were able to teach you things, new things every day." And so that was really important to remember, especially for people who are not teachers. Um, Second one is pretty self-explanatory and goes along with my Penrai. Just go outside your comfort zone, take a deep breath. It's okay. Um, Third one is my favorite. The grass is greener where you water it. I was talking to my roommate about how much, how I missed a lot of certain things in Western culture. I was feeling a little bit homesick, and I was talking about things that I missed that I didn't really appreciate when I was home. And I said, "Oh, well, the grass is always greener on the other side, right?" And she said, "No, the grass is greener where you water it." And I've never had that perspective before. And that made me realize that if I put my all into this experience and you realize the opportunities around you, how much you can grow and how much other people can grow and your experiences can grow. So that was really cool and really eye opening for me. Um, and then just remember, this is your experience. Make it what you want. If you want to focus on teaching and being with the kids, you can do that. If you want to focus on growing yourself and growing what you know about yourself and your experiences, that too, and traveling, whatever you want this experience to be, you can make it.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeanette. I really like your grass is
Yeah.
greener thing. I've never heard that, but it's quite
Thanks. I
true.
haven't either.
Wonderful. And your microphone lasted throughout, so that's exciting. So
Perfect.
now we'll go on to Michael, our fourth and final panelist. So Michael, hopefully your microphone's up and running.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Very nice.
Awesome. So, hello, my name is Michael SCHMAHL. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Like the other three current teachers, I arrived in October 2018. I'm doing two semesters in Thailand. I graduated university with a degree in business, sales, and marketing. So keeping with the trend of no previous teaching experience. And I am teaching grades 11 and 8 at actually the same public secondary school as Jake. So we're actually like sitting right next to each other. We just high-fived. And yeah, it's been an awesome experience so far.
Thanks, Michael. What temple is this, if you happen to know?
Yeah, I have no idea what the name is, but I know it's in Ayutthaya, which is the old capital of Thailand. A few hundred years ago, Ayutthaya, which is located about an hour north of Bangkok, was the capital of Siam. It got destroyed by the Burmese in the 1700s, and now is a really cool tourist destination.
Cool. Thank you. And then you had a few other photos here.
Which is...
Sorry, Michael. Somehow your thing got muted. Can you start over about showing the photos on this page?
Yeah. So, top left corner, me and some of my 11th grade students at Sport Day. Sport Day is one of the coolest things about Thai schools. I think every Thai school has Sport Day, which is actually more like sport days. At least 3 days of huge school-wide sport competitions, everything from football, which is what we call soccer in America, track and field events, basketball, badminton, competitive dance, everything. And there's also a lot of food and parades. It was a really fun experience. On the far right is me and a teacher at my school, one of our PE teachers, P. Samnuk, at a run that is at the bigger town located north of our school. We both got second place in our age group. I like doing road races here in Thailand, and it's something really similar. Did you hear that last part? And on the very bottom picture is Christmas in Thailand. Big Christmas celebration / New Year's celebration at our school. They had me and Jake dress up in Santa costumes and just chuck candy at these kids who thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of these. There's a lot of big celebrations at Thai schools, and everybody takes part. And it's especially rewarding for the foreign teachers there.
Thank you. And I think you have a couple more photos here.
Oh yeah, that's right. I sent you a lot. Yeah, so the photo on the left is a group of my students at Ayutthaya. Again, but we took a selfie. Students love selfies. They'll ask to take selfies with you. I always oblige, no matter how many. And they're really fun. And there's so many things that I can connect to with my students. You know, things are different over here in Thailand, but one of my students is walking around wearing the white sunglasses. I call them clout goggles, and a champion bucket hat. And I was like, yo, you have swag. And he was like, yes, teacher, I have swag. And I was like, this is so funny and cool. And I just love talking with my students, learning with them, but also sharing common experiences. And then on the far right, again, Ayutthaya, there are so many temples in Thailand. You'll never be able to remember all the names of them, but you definitely get some cool pictures. Go on a couple of guided tours so you can really learn and appreciate the history behind a lot of them. Thailand has a really deep, rich history, and that's something I have gotten to appreciate in my time here.
Thanks, Michael. And then your tips.
Yeah. Number one, do something new every day. This is such a unique experience. You will go back to America or wherever you're from after this, and this is something that sets you apart from everybody else. and I think you should keep that energy going while you're here in Thailand. Sometimes it can be really easy to just go home after teaching and watch Netflix, or like, talk to your, hang out on Twitter, talk to your American friends. I do it from time to time, but I really try and push myself to do something new, do something exciting every day. It can be small, or it can be big, because you might not get a chance like this ever again. Next tip, when you come to Thailand, you are going to want to see everything, and there's so much to see, but I really encourage you to not travel at the expense of missing out on your hometown and your school. You can learn so much from the people in your school and from hanging out here on the weekends, from seeing what your fellow teachers and your friends do to have fun. I think that's how you become less of a tourist and more of a like actual world citizen. You feel more connected. Next, personally, I think practice Thai language. It makes my life a lot easier just when I can go around talking, and I can connect with the Thai people more. You don't have to learn the Thai language. There's a lot of people who come here and don't, they can get by with English really well. But I think that if you learn some Thai, you can definitely, I think it's fun. I think you'll have more fun if you can learn a little bit more Thai. And then finally, make friends with people who have coconut trees or a cheap hookup with coconuts. It's the thing, besides the people, that I will miss the most about Thailand. The coconuts here are awesome, and you should try and eat as many as you can while you're here in the kingdom.
Thanks, Michael. I had to laugh at your last one. Coconuts there are really good, so you should try them out. All right. Thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. So now we're going to go on to topics and hearing about their experiences. We have a lot of questions, but they do relate to our topics, and we have about 45 minutes left of our webinar. So we're going to try to keep each topic to about 5 minutes, just so everyone has that in mind. And our first thing that we'll talk about is Jeanette and Michael are going to kind of spearhead our orientation in your first weeks in Thailand. And we do have a couple questions about that, so I'll be asking you guys that as well.
Michael, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. First of all, Jeanette, it's nice to hear from you. Me and Jeanette,
you too.
This is the first time we've talked since our orientation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And yeah, orientation. What a whirlwind. Sometimes I think back on orientation, I'm like, I can't believe I survived those 5 days in Bangkok, because I mean, it's a little bit of everything that you will be experiencing during your time in Thailand. As soon as you get off the plane, I mean, you're surrounded by a foreign language that you don't understand. Everything's new. They drive on the wrong side of the road. It's crazy. You get to the hotel, and you're jet lagged, and you are starting to feel a little nervous. But then you start meeting other teachers there, like right away. I walked downstairs for a really jet lagged breakfast the first day, and I saw a bunch of what looked like Americans, young, and I walked up to them and said, "Are you here for CIE?" And they're like, "Yes." "Oh my gosh, how jet lagged are you too?" And you just bond and you make friends right away. And that's something that I think is super important, is just make friends during orientation. Not only can you learn from these fellow CIE teachers, they're your support group. And they can help you during your time here in Thailand, and you will just have so much fun with them. A lot of traveling and good times to be had. Also orientation, just have a lot of fun too. You know, you're in Thailand, you made it. You can celebrate, definitely. Go to Khao San Road, drink a lot of Chong beer responsibly. You know, swim in the pools, have like a good time. You deserve to celebrate. On the other side of that, take advantage of what CIE is offering. Orientation gives you so much information. So many people are there to help you. You can learn so much. And talk to the CIE people who are there. Just talk to everybody. You will learn so much. It'll make you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I don't really have any new points.
Okay.
I don't really have any new points to add on. I'll just expand a little bit. Yeah, take advantage of what CIEE has prepared. There is a lot to do and a lot of classes and lessons, and you are jet lagged, but I didn't miss any, and I don't regret any of it. I feel so prepared. That being said, going off what Michael said, take care of yourself. Drink so much water. You drink more water than you could ever imagine. I was dehydrated for about a month, maybe more, because I just wasn't drinking enough water. So that's a small thing that's really big. Also, learn to accept it depends as an answer. Be flexible. I know answers are super comforting, but find comfort in the excitement of unknowing. If you're a routine person, just know that a routine will come later, but at the moment in time, you won't have all the answers, and that's okay. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you, guys. That's great advice. There's a couple questions that really relate to this. Jeanette, maybe you want to take this one since you mentioned plans. So at orientation, there's a very extensive, I can't remember what it's called, seminar, we'll call it, for lack of a better word, a session, there we go, a very long session about phones and phone plans. And so a lot of people, since you mentioned phones, can you just kind of talk briefly about what do you do with phones? Do you use a phone from the United States? Do you get a SIM card in Thailand? What, I guess, Michael and Jeanette, what do you guys suggest for teachers in Thailand?
Yes. I brought my phone from the US. I got a SIM card at orientation. And then after that, I reloaded it every month with unlimited data. I actually recently just got a new SIM card. I paid 2,500 baht for a year of unlimited data. I don't know what 2,500 baht is in dollars, even though I'm a math teacher.
It's
but
roughly
it's really
30 baht to $1 roughly.
Yeah. So it's super cheap. They'll help you out there, but bring your American phone, and then make sure you keep your American SIM card in a safe place. Or
yeah,
Canadian.
basically the same. Yeah, same thing for me. I have an American phone, Thai SIM card. I pay 500 baht a month for unlimited data. I communicate via the Line app. I do all my calling and like messaging through Line or Wi-Fi on my iPhone. It's an unlimited data, really good coverage. It's pretty simple, no problems.
Thank you, guys. So Michael mentioned Line, which if you haven't been to Thailand, you may not know. It's kind of like WhatsApp or Viber. You'll definitely be getting it in your first days in Thailand, I would imagine. But the most important things are that you unlock your phone before going to the States. Before leaving and going to Thailand. And then there's lots of different SIM card options, which you'll find out there. We talk about it in our pre-departure course. We talk about it at orientation. So you really don't need to fret too much. You'll definitely be able to get SIM cards within your first days in Thailand and be back online and chatting with people. And there's lots of Wi-Fi that you can use as well. So so that we can get to our other topics, we'll kind of move on from the phone conversation. But don't worry, it's easy to get a phone once you're in a SIM card once you're in Thailand. So thank you guys. We'll go on to our next topic, which is kind of the support network. Jeanette, can you just speak a little bit about, I guess, support with and everything that is, whether it's CIE, OAG, or other peers that you're with, or even your colleagues at school?
Yeah, so Michael talked about it really quickly for orientation and making friends. My biggest support group has been the people I've met at orientation. You have an entire network of people who are going through the same exact thing as you at your fingertips. So don't be afraid to ask other people for advice. I was surprised to realize how nervous everyone was, just like I was, and it was kind of comforting. So create line or WhatsApp groups. I made one for math teachers because I was so nervous about teaching math. I was freaking out. I asked if people wanted to join it, and I quickly realized how many people wanted to be in this WhatsApp group, just like supporting one another. And people still talk in it, still post lesson plans, advice, and there are many groups like that, I'm sure. So really cool support network within teachers that you meet in your orientation. The CIE staff and OEG staff was super awesome orientation week, and I am still in touch with a few of them, asking them questions and just advice. So that's a really good support to have. Don't be afraid to ask for their emails or line numbers. And I guess when it comes to logistical stuff, Carrie, I don't know if you want to touch on this, but I never feel nervous about emailing anyone if I have a question about visas or anything like that. And then my Thai school for a support network has been really, really awesome. Sometimes it's a little bit get a straight answer from your director, from your Thai teachers, but they do want you there, and they really appreciate having you there, and they're happy to help you if you have any problems. So yeah, but the biggest thing I would say is create those relationships orientation, and create those line or WhatsApp groups, and don't be afraid to reach out.
Thanks, Jeanette. I think that's great information. So yeah, peers are wonderful support. Your school is there. You can always talk to your school. But CIE and OAG, which again is our partner, similar to OAG or similar to CIE, but our partners in Thailand, we're all there for you as well. And we always want you to reach out if you ever are homesick, have a question about your school, have a question about visas. So regardless of when it is, before you go to Thailand or while you're in Thailand, we are there for you, as are your peers in your school. So thanks, Jeanette. It doesn't look like we have too many other questions relating to this, so we'll go ahead and move on. You're up again with culture shock.
Yeah, this is something that I am passionate about talking about because I struggled with it a lot. I studied abroad in Italy in college, and I had no culture shock. I was not homesick. I had an incredible time. And I thought, naively, that moving to Thailand would be easy, and then I would have no culture shock. But I quickly learned that I was wrong. But that's just to remind you that everybody is kind of in the same boat as you, and that they understand what you're going through. I actually remember I was lying in bed during orientation and all jet lagged, and then it all hit me. I'm moving across the world. I am in a different culture, a different food, different language, and it really spooked me out. But it does pass, and you have your support network to help you through it. So some things are going to surprise you. There are cultural norms that are different. There are some gender norms that I've had to get used to, being a female, and I'm sure it's very similar to males. There are definitely different cultural norms that you kind of have to accept and understand. There are food differences, and even the traffic, the roads are so different. Nobody really follows any traffic laws. And people will look at you a lot. I am a blonde-haired farang, which is the word for a foreigner. And I've had a lot of people stare at me, and that's, if you are Farang, they will stare at you. So it's just something that you have to get used to. Either, I would just say, don't let it bother you. Sometimes it does bug me when I want to go out in my pajamas, but I can't because I know people will be looking at me. But just let it roll off your shoulders. It's part of the culture. It's okay. It just means that they're curious. So, with all that being said, just some tips to kind of get over the culture shock and be okay with it. Learn to let some things slide off your shoulders. You signed up for an experience, so let experience happen. Let yourself experience new things. Be open to people, be open to foods, be open to learning how to acclimate to a completely different culture. It is very, very different. But you will learn how to acclimate. So, also, another tip is don't be afraid to stay true to yourself. Have some things that keep you grounded, remind you of home if you're nervous about getting homesick, some things that keep you comfortable. For example, I'm actually still experiencing some cultural differences with food because I am a vegetarian. I'm really picky. So I get a little bit nervous about finding food. But I went to Tesco, which is the big supermarket here. I got Hershey syrup and I made chocolate milk because I have chocolate milk every night at home in America, and having that here made me feel really comfortable, and it was that sense of home. And it kind of put some of my anxieties at ease. So have those little things, like bring a book from home, bring just some things that you value, have them here, and have those little things that remind you that it's going to be okay. Not everything is changing. And once you settle in, you will find a nice balance between experiencing new things but also being comfortable. So it will pass, but there are definitely some cultural differences too. That was a whole long spiel. Sorry.
No, I think that's great advice, Jeanette. Thank you, and thanks for sharing. So culture shock is completely normal, and it's different for everyone. And I think taking Jeanette's tips seriously and reaching out if you need to, or getting those things like chocolate milk from home, definitely can help you through that. Jeanette, you mentioned there's some different gender norms, and someone's interested in learning a little bit more about what you meant.
Yeah, of course. I just think it's some small things. The fact that I can't wear pants to school, that is not countrywide. It's not all schools require that, but I've noticed that in my school, I'm required to wear a skirt. I'm required to cover my shoulders, and I feel as though there are certain ideas of being a female in Thailand versus being a male. Like, for example, I actually bought a motorcycle, not a motor scooter. I bought a motorcycle, and my director was like, "Don't you know that that's for men?" And that was really surprising to me. But also, that's just something that I've experienced. It's not severe. I have not felt uncomfortable. I've not felt discriminated against. And it's definitely different everywhere. So don't take that as like a set in stone thing. Yeah.
All right, thanks. And just a little motorcycle and motorbike safety tips. If you do do them, please follow all rules we go over at orientation. They're extremely dangerous, but also a lot of people use them, so always wear a helmet and make sure that you follow the appropriate laws. So we won't get too much into those, but had to do my little safety spiel. And then we're going to go on to the next topic. Thank you, Jeanette, so much. So teaching at a Thai school, Michael and Jake, who I guess are in the same room, will be telling us about this.
Hi there. Can you all hear us?
Yeah, we can. Well, I can hear
Awesome.
you. Jake, can you speak?
What's up?
Um, You're still muted, Jake, but if you're talking to Michael's phone, it'll work.
Since we're like right next to each other, we just decided to use the same computer for now. So
Perfect.
I'll
All right.
pass it over to Jake, and he can start talking about life at our school.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Yeah, teaching at a Thai school. It is vastly different than what we're used to by American standards, and that is a fact. It is very, from my experience especially, and Michael can probably attest to this, it is very like laissez-faire and very laid back. Sometimes we'll be sitting in our office, and one of our fellow English teachers, she'll be chatting with us, and it's about 20 minutes after a class period has started, and she goes, "Oh, I have class. Bye." And then we'll like pick up her stuff and run out and go to the classroom, and we're just kind of sitting there being like, "Okay, yeah, go, good luck." And then she comes back and she's like, it's normal for teachers to be late, and it's normal for students to be late, which is true. Several times I have found myself just like sitting in a classroom waiting for kids to show up 5, 10, even 20 minutes late sometimes. And often because they get held later in the class before, which for that specific class is like a really high up teacher, so I can't really complain or do anything about it. I kind of just have to let it be and do a quick abbreviated version of whatever lesson I have planned for that day. And some good advice that I was told by a previous teacher at my school is don't overteach. You might have all of this stuff planned out for your lesson. You might have all these goals that you want these kids to achieve, and like that's all great, and it should be attainable. But at the same time, if you can get one kid to do well on one assignment, then like you have done something good. So like don't sweat if they're not taking to a certain thing or a certain assignment or lesson, because the next week the kids that might have done the most poor on a lesson, they may be like excelling at a different one the next week. So there's just like so much give and take, and again it's embracing my Penrai and just kind of going with you're almost an MC of the classroom and kind of feeling out the energy and basing your lessons off of the sort of energy of your students. And I'll see if Michael has any other things to say.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Jake has said. Life here at Nong Pai School is very go with the flow, very flexible, especially for the Thai teachers. As a English teacher, a Farang, you are held to a different standard. So like we are always on time to our class. We we try not to be late, but it's not hard to do so. I wish I could tell you all exactly what your school will be like. The fact of the matter is every school in Thailand is different. We are at a rural school in upcountry. Many of you will be teaching around Bangkok, which I've heard of. Our school is very different. A lot of students here at Nong Pai don't speak English very well, or they don't know much English compared to some schools around Bangkok, where the English level is much higher. So I say be flexible in your classroom and just bring positive energy every day into the classroom and become friends with your students. Get to know the students. They're awesome. They're great. The names are really difficult, especially for me. So take some time to really get to know your students, talk with them, maybe make some name cards. It'll help the classroom go a lot more smoothly.
One thing I will say for that, like, definitely get a good relationship with your students, but at first, don't be afraid to be a bit of a hard ass, because if you don't establish some kind of order and don't establish yourself as like the person to be listening to, then you might risk getting run over by these kids, because they are high schoolers, and much like high schoolers in any country, they can be quite what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I guess rascally, but they're also, I mean, they, you know, these kids, they'll come up with ways to really test your ability to control the classroom. That's for sure. So just, especially at the beginning, kind of be more strict, and then you can kind of ease into it, and that's when the relationships will come.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you guys. So we do have a lot of questions about this topic. We still have a lot of other topics to cover, so I'm going to ask a few questions, and then since both of you teach at the same school, Maggie and Jeanette, if you wouldn't mind jumping in a little as well. I'm just curious, Michael and Jake, how many students do you have in your classroom typically?
Approximately 40. 40 is the average size.
All right, and then Maggie, someone was wondering, what do you teach? Is it specifically English or is it something else? And also, how many students do you have?
Yeah, I just teach English because it's just kindergarten, so they don't learn any other subjects. And then I have about 20 kids in my class, in each class.
Jeanette, how about you? How many students do you have?
I have 30 students, and there's one that is 45.
All right, so as you can hear, classrooms can be pretty big in Thailand. So it's normal. It's how people in Thailand learn. It can be kind of a big difference if you're coming from teaching in the States or from just being a student in the States or Canada or elsewhere. So thank you guys for sharing that. With a couple different related things, I think all of you can briefly touch on it. A lot of people are wondering, like, are you given teaching materials? Do you have a specific curriculum? What exactly are you controlling in your classroom, and what is kind of controlled by this school?
Yeah. So when me and Jake arrived here, they gave us a couple of outdated English books and said, okay, here's how you can design your classroom. And it's definitely not like a set curriculum. You really, at least in our case, again, I can't emphasize this enough. Everybody's different, but for us, we get to design our classroom, which can be super exciting, really rewarding, but especially if you're a first-time teacher, it can be super scary, like frighteningly to stand up in front of the class. So CIEE does a great job of preparing you for those first couple of classes at orientation. Be sure to listen when they touch on that subject. And yeah, take it day by day. When Jake said don't overteach, especially do not overteach in those first couple of days. But after that, for us, you know, we teach kind of whatever we want. And if anybody else would like to talk.
Yeah, Maggie or Jeanette, would you guys jump in? I know you guys have a different experience at your schools.
Yeah, mine's completely different. When I got to my school, they gave me a huge box with everything I'm going to need for every single week of the semester. So I guess there's pros and cons to that as well. I don't have the flexibility to kind of like do what I would want to do with them, because I do have curriculum that I do have to follow, but it is nice, especially when I arrived, getting all of those materials and knowing that the school had these resources available that I can use. And then I do just try to create lessons that are fun and engaging on my own while using the materials they give me as well.
I do not have a set curriculum. I kind of just gauge their English level, and I create my own lesson plans off of that. There's a lot of flexibility, but As Michael said, it's a little bit scary, but you kind of learn as you go. Luckily for math, I was given a book and a unit to focus on. So that was really helpful. But once again, it's really different for everyone. So
Cool, thank you. And since you're going to teach in Thailand, I think this is a really important subject, and I know we're running short on time, so we'll go quicker through the next topics. But I just have one more question for everyone. So if you haven't created a lesson plan before, for those of you who were not experienced teachers, what kind of things did you use to know how to make a lesson plan or to plan a lesson your first time?
So like Michael said, CIEE/OEG, in your orientation, they will run you through creating a lesson plan. You can do the TEFL certification, which helps, but definitely orientation, pay attention, because they give you great tips on kind of like the basics of it and how to organize it, and you know, what's effective and what's not. And then for me also, like once I got here, I had that, and then it was a lot of online resources. There's a lot of different, like I mean, you can literally just Google ESL lesson plan for careers, or ESL lesson plan for giving direction, and like pages of stuff will pop up, and you can kind of base your lesson off of that. So for a lot of what I do, I'll kind of read through some other things, and then I'll kind of pick and choose what I like, and sort of structure my own lesson from that. And again, it's just from my experience, it's been pretty freestyle, and I kind of have fun with it. That's sort of my style, anyways. Kind of a jump head first kind of guy. Anyway, so yeah, there are resources out there. You just kind of have to find them.
Cool, thank you guys. So yeah, there's a lot of resources. If you're nervous, I would suggest the TEFL course, because it will help prepare you, as well as they said at orientation too. And then there's just a couple questions that I'm going to quick answer, and then we'll go on to our next subject. So can you teach subjects outside of your degree? The answer is yes. On the placement preferences section of your application, you can write down any subject you'd be interested in teaching. Just be aware, if you write it down, you may be asked to teach it. Sometimes, like, you might write computers, but if you write that, just be prepared that you might be asked to teach a computer class. So anything you'd be interested or feel knowledgeable about teaching, you can write it down. And I believe, Jeanette, you said you're teaching math. Is that correct?
yeah, I teach math.
Is that part of your degree?
No, it is not at all.
So there's one example. You could be asked to teach something else. You're going to be receiving that information when you receive your placement. So, you know, if you do teach other subjects, it translates into a higher salary as well. So teaching any other subject is going to be taught in English. You would not be asked to teach it in Thai. And again, on the placement preferences section of your application, that's where you can write all of your preferences, and we try to place you accordingly. So a couple other questions here is, there was one other one that related to this. Oh yeah. All right. So how do you receive your monthly payment? And is it like direct deposit or in cash? So if a couple of you could briefly say, I know that it varies from school to school, but what's your experience at your school?
Michael and I just get cash at the end of each month.
I get cash too.
And I also get cash as well.
All right. So cash is pretty common. At some schools, you can open a direct deposit account or a bank account, but you can't do that until you have your work permit. So that's something that varies from school to school, but I do think the majority of people get cash. So we'll move on. I want to make sure to get to everything. Thank you guys for all of your insight. So I guess briefly, Jake and Maggie, I know we've talked a little bit about cultural differences. Are there any other highlights that you think you'd like to tell everyone about?
I guess I'll start. Yeah, Jeanette kind of touched on how how the culture here is very different, which it is, but it is also really an experience to kind of see how they do things here and live amongst that. So I've just learn to be respectful.
There's a certain way.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. We might be having some.
No, you're okay.
No, my bad. My bad.
All right.
You go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So yeah, I just try to be respectful of everything. So when I go out in my community, I always cover my shoulders, cover my knees, because as Jeanette said, people will stare at you. But if you can just try and blend in a little bit more and dress how they dress, and I don't know, just kind of do what they do, it's a little bit easier on you. And a big thing here is greeting people, the why, which you'll definitely learn about when coming to Thailand. So whenever you greet somebody, you put your hands together and you kind of bow towards them. This is mainly to like your elders. I do it all the time in the mornings at my school, to my principal, definitely, and the older Thai teachers. But you're not supposed to do it to kids. So that's just something to keep in mind as well. Yeah, Jake, if you want to add anything.
No, I think my mic was like in and out, so I couldn't hear you at first. But you basically said what I was trying to say as well. So all good.
Cool. Thank you, guys. So I think we're going to go on. We actually want to talk about living in Thailand, Michael and Jake, and then accommodation, Maggie and Michael. So I think if all three of you would kind of tackle those together, they're related but not exactly the same. So maybe Michael and Jake first, living in Thailand, and then we'll go to accommodation.
Yeah. So
Michael, we can't hear you if you're talking. Jake as well. All right. So it looks like they're having technical. Or Michael, can you start over? We couldn't hear you, but now we can.
Okay, great. So Jake and we live upcountry, which basically means anywhere that's not Bangkok. And our community is very rural. It is a little bit slower pace of life. They don't have like as industrial an economy. Most people either are or related to a farmer here, and everybody else owns a very small shop. But it is a really vibrant community. I have a lot of fun living here in Thailand. I'm learning so much living here in Thailand, and in my town. Yeah, it is. I can't encourage you enough to just like get to know where you live. You will be tempted to go to like Phuket and Chiang Mai and all these other awesome places, and you should go, but you should also like get a deep knowledge of where you are, and you can turn it into your home, and then you can say that you have a home in a very special, exotic place on the other side of the world. I definitely feel like wherever I go after my time in Thailand, Nong Pai town and Nong Pai school will be a part of me.
Thanks, Michael. Jake, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, kind of just going off of like my tip from earlier is say yes to pretty much anything, because you will get the best experience that way. You know, there are days or weekends or whatever where I just want to chill in my room and watch Netflix, but and I do maybe like later in the evening, but like just say yes. Like, be engaged, especially for Michael and I. And if you get into a rural community, like, if you want to be entertained, you have to make relationships with the people, because that's where like the true Thai experience comes from, is from the people itself. That's where you get the most out of the culture. If you are living in a more populated area, I would also encourage you to take your time and come visit a smaller town and kind of get the feel for that as well, because there are definitely a bit differences. Like, if living in Bangkok, that you will find the same creature comforts that you find in the West, but you may not get like everything like that you might have in a smaller town in terms of culture and people.
Cool. Thank you, guys. And so I think they summed that up well. In honor of time, we'll move on. And I'm sorry, it's going to go just a little bit long if it's okay with everyone. But I want to make sure we talk about accommodation. Maggie and Michael, there's some questions I'm going to read off before, so say your tips, but also if you could touch on, like, what is the accommodation like, specifically what's yours like, and how far do you live from this school, as well as is it furnished or was it furnished when you arrived?
Okay, I can start again. So I live on campus in like apartments / dorms, so it's kind of like a studio apartment. But I live on campus of the high school, and I teach at the kindergarten, which is about 10 minutes away. So I am living with also high school students that live in these dorms, but the teachers are all upstairs, so we're separated. But my dorm / apartment was completely furnished. I have a bed, a desk, a dining room table, a fridge, a microwave, a dresser, and a wardrobe. And then it has its own bathroom with toilet and shower connected. As you will see, most Thai bathrooms are that way. But it is very nice, and other CIEE, OEG people live down the hall from me, so it's nice having my own place, but also living near others that I know. So that's mine.
Yeah, so I also live on the campus of my school. A lot of schools, they have what we call school villages. So they will have apartments or houses within like the actual campus of the school. That's the first time I've heard of students living there. Here at Nong Pai, it's really just teachers that live on campus. So me, Jake, and another OEG teacher, CIE teacher, Josh, live in a 2-story, 3-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, 1 communal kitchen living space. It's the nicest house on campus, and the Thais are very proud of giving us this house, which we are super grateful for, and they care a lot. It is definitely not as comfortable as like an American house. So if you are in a rural community, just be prepared. Like, it's not going to be the same. I find it refreshing. I have a nice bed. I have an air conditioning unit. I have running water. Hot water works about 50-50, but it is, a wonderful place to live. And I couldn't be more thankful for the Thai community to provide this home for me.
Thank you, guys. So just some general things. As they mentioned, everyone's housing is different. It's either going to be a studio apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment, or as Michael just described, a shared house with other CIE teachers where you have your own bedroom. Just a couple things to keep in mind. Not everyone's on school campus. A lot of people are, but you're normally relatively close, and your Thai school is going to be providing you that accommodation. A lot of times, if it's not a shared house, you're not going to have a Western-style kitchen. It might be like a hot plate and a fridge and a couple pots and pans. You normally do have basic furnishings, but again, as you've been hearing throughout, things do vary from school to school. But when you get your placement, you do get photos of your accommodation, and so you'll have that information before you go to Thailand. Is there anything else anyone else would like to add about accommodation?
All good.
All right. So it looks like we'll cruise along. Eating in Thailand, we'll just briefly touch on this. I know Michael's also a vegetarian, and there's tons of good food in Thailand. I'm going to do a little plug right here for green curry. It's amazing. But Jake and Michael, would you just touch on kind of Thai food? I think people know quite a bit about it, but anything you have to add?
Yeah, I'll let Michael say most, but I'll just quickly say eat everything. I mean, I love eating, and it's like one of my favorite things to do, and it's one of my favorite things to do here, even if it's a little weird. Like, they may put a bowl in front of you, and they're like, oh yeah, this is pig's blood soup. You want to try it? Yeah, okay, sure. Why not? Let's try it. Or like if you're not used to eating a fish with like the eyes still in it, and the mouth kind of like hanging out, looking at, like lolling at you, maybe be prepared for that, but it's probably going to be the most delicious piece of fish you've ever eaten. So just like the eating norms are different. Practice your chopstick skills, and also get used to using a spoon as your primary eating utensil for.
Jake, you guys cut out again after spoon. Michael, Jake. All right, as they work on their technical.
Excuse me.
Oh, wait, you're back now?
Oh,
Yeah.
we're back.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right, you cut out after spoon.
Oh, okay. I was just just kind of finished with like be open to eating anything, and then also if you have dietary restrictions, definitely be aware of that, and don't be afraid to ask what's in it, as Michael will kind of tell you with his spiel.
Yeah. The cuisine, like Jake said, very different, but when you break it down, it has a lot of the same stuff that you'll find in America. There's carbohydrates, which is rice primarily, protein sources of chicken, pork. Chicken and pork are the big ones, and fish. And then lots of really fresh fruits and vegetables. The fruit in Thailand is delicious. The coconuts are awesome. So there's definitely things that are a little different, but you can find things that you can be comfortable with, and can become a staple in your diet pretty easily. I am vegetarian, which is a little difficult in Thailand because they like to eat meat. But vegetarianism is pretty, they understand it because Buddhism supports vegetarianism. So like I say, Gin Mangsa Virat, which means eat vegetarian, and people will be like, oh yes, I understand, and they're very accommodating to that. So learning key phrases, if you're allergic to something like peanuts or fish, one of our roommates, he's allergic to fish, and you have to learn how to say it, and let people know that you're allergic or what you don't eat. And they're very accommodating. Everybody's very kind. Nobody will make you eat anything that you don't want to eat. So that's that. If you're vegan, whew, good luck. I know one person who's vegan in Thailand. She lives in Bangkok. She's able to make it happen. I think being vegan in this small town would just be like the most difficult thing in the world. Being vegetarian is hard enough. So good luck with that. But you know, you'll be okay. Thai food, delicious. Very spicy, but delicious.
Cool. Thank you, guys. So yeah, eat everything unless, of course, you're allergic or vegetarian. But we will go on to traveling, and we do have a lot of questions related to that. So Meggie, you'll spearhead this one. If anyone else wants to jump in at any point, I am going to just answer a couple of the questions and give you some questions to maybe start with as well. And so someone's wondering how many people are in an orientation group. So that relates to this because another question is, do you travel with other CIE teachers? So in the June and August orientation groups, there's often between 10 and 20 people, sometimes a little less, depending. The May orientation group often has around 75 to 80 people, could be more, could be less. And then the October, we often have 2 orientations totaling about 200 to 250 people. So really it depends when you go as to how many people will be in your orientation group. And so Maggie, if you wouldn't mind mentioning like how often do you interact or travel with other CIE teachers, and have you been able to travel to other places, other countries, other places in Thailand, and how do you travel?
Yes, so traveling is a huge thing for me, obviously a big reason to come to Thailand. And so, yes, I actually only travel with CIE people that I've met at orientation. So those are the only people I travel with. I definitely keep in touch with a good group of people that I met at orientation, and we're always asking each other what our travel plans are, and then we'll coordinate trips together. Or I will travel with people that live in my apartment here. Or just kind of, if I want to go to a certain place, I'll message people and be like, does anyone want to go here this weekend? And like Michael and Jake were saying, just say yes to everything. So most people will say yes, and then there you go. So I have not left the country yet, as I said earlier, because there is so much to see in Thailand. But I do have some upcoming trip plans to Australia and Bali and Vietnam. On our summer break, I'll be leaving the country. But during the school year, it has just been enough to travel within Thailand. And I live close to Bangkok, so it's super easy to get anywhere. I can either hop on a bus for super cheap to hop down south or go up north. Or if it's a little far out of my way, like Chiang Mai is a little far, I can just hop on a plane at one of the airports in Bangkok for a little bit more, but it's a lot easier to get there that way. So, yeah, was there anything I didn't touch on question-wise?
I think that was pretty good. There's a few more questions. So just so people know, the Thai school year goes from early May to late March of every year. So right now, all of our teachers who are with us on our panel who started in October, they started at the beginning of the second semester of the Thai school year. And since most of them are staying for 2 semesters, they're coming up on the summer break, which is about 4 to 8 weeks in end of March, April, and beginning of May. So that's when the big break is for that program. If you start in May, then you do have a couple weeks off for the semester break in early October, late September. But all of these guys are coming up on summer break. So Maggie, I imagine that might be when you're doing some of these bigger travels. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when I'll be traveling outside the country.
Okay. And then Michael and Jake, since you live more rurally, how do you normally get from place to place? And are you guys planning on any big summer vacations or anything like that?
Yeah, we're both doing some big traveling over the summer, both going to some pretty similar places as Maggie. But yeah, for us to get places in Thailand is a bit more difficult. Like we got to take a bus to then get another bus to where we actually have to go. unless it's Bangkok, that's about the only direct bus route that we can get. But otherwise, we're kind of hopping to other towns that are a bit bigger with larger bus stations. Although it is nice, we kind of have a good group of teachers at our school that are really willing to take us around. So the both of us have done some traveling with our Thai friends, which is nice. Then we just kind of go by car, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, like Jake said, buses. I'm a huge bus guy now. I love traveling by buses. Buses here in Thailand are super nice. But also, this is kind of a theme for me, but get to know your area, your province. I guarantee there's a cool waterfall, a cool lake, some neat museums or something around your area that you can go see on a weekend, and kind of be a local tourist. And then you also get to, again, appreciate where you are and engage with that local culture, and also your friends and fellow teachers will have knowledge of those places. So get off the well-trod tourist path every once in a while.
Cool, thank you guys. And yeah, traveling is quite cheap in Thailand, so in comparison, you can take flights, trains, buses, taxis, things like that. And two more travel-related questions. One is, could you go back to the States for Christmas? And one is, can people from home come to visit you? Would someone speak on those two topics?
I can. Oh, okay. For Christmas, it really depends on the school. Again, some people don't have much of a Christmas break. I was lucky enough to have 11 days off for Christmas, which I definitely could have gone home, but you'll realize once you're here that's not really worth it, as much as you're going to want to be with your family, just to experience the holidays in a new place and to take advantage of that traveling time as well. And then, what was the second question?
Can people from your home country come and visit you?
Oh, of course. I wish someone has come to visit me, but no one has yet. But my parents are coming during my summer break that Carrie was talking about. So that will be the first time someone's coming to visit me, but I've already had friends of friends that have come to visit them here. So you can definitely make it work.
Cool, thank you guys. So yeah, traveling home for holidays, although it's something that's really hard about living abroad, it oftentimes, if you start in October, would be difficult to go home as well, because you must have your work permit that you get once you're in Thailand within your first 90 days there in order to travel, and then you need time off school. So people do it, but you'd need to get it approved with your employer, who's your Thai school, and you also need your work permit. All right, so since we're a little over, we're going to go to our last topic and then our last few questions here. So, Maggie, can you speak a little bit about your personal benefits of teaching in Thailand? And if this is our last topic, so if anyone else wants to jump in with any final tips, and then we'll have a couple final questions, but take it away.
Okay. So I kind of started with this, but I'll end with it again. Just coming to Thailand, it has been a great cultural experience for me. It's definitely opened my mind up to things that I never knew or even realized about the world. And I've learned a lot about myself and just the world being here, more than I've learned than in any classroom back in college or anything. So the life experience is great. And I'm definitely embracing the work hard and playing harder lifestyle. So it is a job, and I continue teaching, but I'm also grateful to have the opportunity to live in Thailand and be able to explore new places on the weekends. And yeah, just kind of learning the language, learning a new language that I would have never thought I would have learned. And I guess if anyone else wants to add anything, take it away.
You summed it up well.
All right. Yeah, so lots of benefits. Thank you, guys. We do have a couple more questions. One is about the weather and if it ever snows or gets cold in Thailand. What do you guys have to say about that?
No. Big no. It's hot. It's very hot.
Thailand has 2 seasons, hot and very hot. And some places, very, very hot.
All right. So thank you. Yeah, and I know in the north it can get a little cooler, but that's Thai cooler, whereas a lot of these guys are from the northern part of the United States, so we're used to snow. I'm also from there, so we're used to snow and things, but no snow in Thailand. As Jeanette mentioned, you want to hydrate a lot and drink a lot of water because it is pretty hot. And then the last questions we'll kind of touch on are how did you tackle packing for Thailand, and also, do you recommend bringing a lot of clothes with you or buying clothes once you get to Thailand? Anyone want to?
I guess I could. Well, yeah. Someone else go.
I think you just volunteered yourself, Jake.
Okay. All right. For me, I pretty much brought enough clothes to last me for a work week, and some t-shirts and shorts, and do laundry about once a week. You don't really need a lot of clothes. Girls probably more, because you would have to wear dresses and skirts to school, whereas for me it's like I can wear pants and a button down, and I have like 4 different work pants and like 6 button-down shirts and a few polos that I wear to school, and that's about it. Although it is easy to get clothes here as well, and you could probably, I think for the most part though, rates are about the same if you get like more of a name brand clothing. Thanks,
Jake. Maggie or Jeanette, Jeanette, it looks like you'll jump in for the girl version.
Yeah. So I brought a little bit of everything, like 1 or 2 jeans, 1 or 2 shorts, 1 or 2 skirts, 1 or 2 dresses, kind of a little bit of everything. I am a little bit closer to Bangkok, so I have some more markets and stores and stuff, but the clothes here are really cheap and really cool. They're really fashionable. I really enjoy shopping here in Thailand, and it's like $4 for a bomb pair of pants. So come prepared to be dressed for work, have a whole week of work's clothes. But for free time clothes, just bring a little bit and then kind of buy the rest when you're here, at least for girls, in my opinion. But
all right, thank you guys. Yeah, so someone asked as well, can women wear work pants? At some schools, women can wear jeans or even nice work slacks. At other schools, you need to wear dresses or skirts that go past your knees. So it depends on your school, which again, you'll find out before going to Thailand. Thai women normally also have a little more conservative, your shoulders need to be covered, a little higher cut. So in general, again, it depends on your school. I do a lot of my shopping when I go to Thailand for orientation and haven't really shopped in the States for a couple of years. And so unless you have like over average sized feet or a little bit larger, it's definitely pretty easy to find clothes in Thailand. If you're super tall or have really big feet, you might want to bring a few more shoes or clothing like that. So it looks like our questions are wrapping up and we are a little over. So I want to let you know that we are reviewing applications now. We have a March 1st deadline for our spring program departing in May and June, and a June 1st deadline for our fall program departing in October, or for those people who qualify in August. and you can apply at the website on your screen. And then the next slide has my contact information. If you think of questions later, you can always call or set up a call with me or email me. And I'll leave that up just for a little bit, but I want to take the time to thank all of you for coming to our webinar and for being interactive, sending our panelists all the questions, and a huge thank you to all of our panelists for staying up super late and a little over time and answering all the questions of our participants, and for also taking the time to teach in Thailand and make a big impact on your community and students. So thank you, everyone. And since we don't have any more questions or anything, I will wish you a good evening or a good day. So have a good night. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Carrie. You're the
Bye.
goat.
Thank you, guys. Bye.